When people go missing, the majority of the time they turn up or are found well. However, there are cases of missing people who seem to have vanished without a trace. Despite the best efforts of search teams and loved ones, their disappearances remain unsolved and unexplained. So today, here at Unexplained Mysteries, we'll be taking a look at mysterious disappearances. The strange case of Keith Parkins. One of the strangest missing 411 cases comes from a report made back in 1952 surrounding the disappearance of a young 2-year-old child named Keith Parkins, of whom was later found more than 12 miles from the original place he had been standing. Details claim that on the 10th of April, back in 1952, the Parkins family had been playing around their barn in Ritter, Oregon, for several hours before being called to come inside due to the winter snow. Once called inside, the parents of the children noticed that their youngest son, Keith Parkins, was not attending and so quickly went looking for him, fearing the worst. After an hour of searching, the family had failed to locate their youngest son and so contacted neighbouring families, gathering as many volunteers as possible, and began a search party for Keith Parkins in an attempt to find him, with the hopes that he had most likely fallen somewhere around the property. Given the small size and young age of Keith, the pitch-black darkness and the dense snow, the family had believed he could not have travelled more than a few miles at most. A little less than 20 hours since their search began, the family would end up finding Keith Parkins more than 12 miles away from the home, lying face down in the snow with no evidence of tracks or paths as to how he ended up there. Given the strange nature of the case of Keith Parkins, a documentary featuring the missing 411 was made, with footage of survivalist Les Stroud retracing the steps of the young Keith Parkins through the rugged terrain, showing the impossibility for a 2-year-old boy to cross over a mountain pass, travel through thick shrubbery, cross miles of barbed wire, and end up on the top of a mountain in less than 20 hours. Unfortunately, given the child's young age, Keith Parkins did not remember any of the details of the event when he was older, with some believing that a far more supernatural or paranormal event had taken place that moved Keith more than 12 miles without his knowledge. Patricia Meehan. On the morning of April 20th, 1989, 37-year-old Patricia Meehan left her home in Bozeman, Montana. The last to see her there was her landlord, who noted strange behaviour, stating that she seemed hyper. 300 miles away on Highway 200 near Circle, Montana, Patricia's car was spotted driving the wrong way by Peggy Bueller and her father. Bueller swerved to avoid the collision, but the car hit the vehicle behind them. Inside that car was off-duty police dispatcher Carol Heights. After exiting her vehicle unharmed, Heights witnessed Patricia leave her car. Patricia walked up to Heights and, as she described it, appeared to look right through her. Bueller, who remained at the scene, described seeing Patricia standing off to the side, observing the scene like a spectator, not like it had happened to her. Bueller then watched as Patricia walked into an empty field and vanished. When the police arrived, they followed a trail of tennis shoe tracks, matching Patricia's. These tracks were found in an empty field nearly 3/4 of a mile from the accident. They followed the trail until 3 a.m., but the trail eventually went cold, the tracks fading into the terrain. After 2,000 missing person flyers, countless searches and abandoned coal mines checked, there was no sign of Patricia. Her family could not explain the reasoning of why she was so far from home that very night. Even more peculiar, there have been over 5,000 reported sightings of Patricia. By June of 1989, 25 sightings had already been reported, including 3 from police officers. On May 4th, she was spotted at a Hardee's restaurant in Minnesota, reportedly drinking water alone for over 5 hours. On May 5th, she was seen twice, once inside a truck stop at Sioux Falls, South Dakota, drinking coffee through the night. Later that morning, she was seen with a man who appeared to be in his 30s. On May 19th, a sighting occurred near Patricia's home in Bozeman. Waitresses at a local restaurant noted she ate her breakfast hurriedly and appeared to be talking to herself. Later that week, she was reportedly seen at a horse auction in Billings, Montana. On May 30th, a trucker reported offering a female resembling Patricia a ride on a highway in rural Washington. She was also reported being seen at a truck stop near Tacoma. Sightings continued at truck stops all over the Pacific Northwest area. The last notable sighting was on August 30th, 1990. A woman with a strong resemblance to Patricia was arrested for littering in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. The sighting made the newspaper, but fingerprints later proved the woman was not Patricia. Despite all of these sightings and an exhaustive search of the Northwest by her family, a solid trail was never found. As of 2019, Patricia's disappearance remains unsolved. The Scottish wild man called Lailaken. Referenced across countless historical tales and Scottish legends are the claims of the Scottish wild man, almost legendary in account, known as the Lailaken. The first written account surrounding this wild man creature was made in the 6th century in the story titled The Life of Saint Kentigern, of which described a wild man prophet named Lailaken that resided near the village of Partick within the kingdom of Strathclyde inside the Caledonian forest. According to the ancient written legends, Lailaken was a mystic of whom could see into the future as well as perform a variety of magical talents. He was believed to have gone insane for reasons not entirely specified and had lived his days out in the forest as a wild man unless he was needed by others for his magical talents. In a 15th century book entitled Lailaken and the Kentigern, the book claims that the Lailaken was also known as Merlinum, with a variety of other sources claiming that he was known as Myrddin Wilt. This has led many historians to believe that the Myrddin Wilt was the original Welsh character that the Arthurian tales of the wizard Merlin had been based on. Further research into Myrddin Wilt uncovers that the psychic had fought in the Battle of Afterrid on the losing side and had completely lost his mind, causing him to move out into the wilderness away from anyone who might want to use him for his magical talents. Bigfoot's hair and the FBI. Peter Byrne, now 94, is certain Bigfoot is real. In fact, in 1976, Byrne was even able to get the FBI to test a hair sample from the alleged creature. As a young boy, Byrne was told stories of the Yeti of the Himalayas by his father. He credits this in sparking his interest in the unknown. In fact, he has an entire webpage devoted to his search for the elusive creature. He claims his search has taken him to the Himalayan mountains all the way to the Pacific Northwest of the United States. He claims he has seen 14-inch footprints on multiple occasions he's sure belonged to Bigfoot. Once landing in the Pacific Northwest, Byrne was all in, 7 days a week. In the 1970s, an unknown sample of hair, a whole 15 strands connected by a patch of skin, was found at a campground in Washington state. This campground was the location of suspected Bigfoot activity. Byrne's group had submitted this hair to the FBI, and Byrne himself spent most of 1976 repeatedly writing to the FBI, pleading for them to test the mysterious sample. Finally, in December of that year, Byrne received a response. FBI Assistant Director J. Cochran Jr. wrote that while the FBI's laboratory is normally for law enforcement agencies and criminal investigations, occasionally, on a case-by-case basis, in the interest of research and scientific inquiry, we make exceptions to the general policy. Cochran then decided to have the hair tested. After countless letters and endless waiting, the results were back. The FBI had determined the hair was from the deer family. You would think that this would discourage Byrne. However, that is not the case. Even after all this time, he is determined to find Bigfoot. When asked if he had ever spotted one, Byrne answered a remorseful no, but that his very good friend had seen one recently. Although it's down to more of a hobby than a full-time job now, even at the age of 94, Byrne keeps searching for his childhood Yeti. But what do you make of these mysteries and disappearances? Be sure to let us know your thoughts in the comment section below and help us by growing this community while working to solve these unexplained mysteries. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos.